This is Women with Books, a collection of conversations about your favorite books, media, and all of the fabulous things in life. Curated by me, author Lindsay Emery. I'm so glad you're a part of today's chat. Hey everyone, this is Lindsay. I'm back. Okay, y'all, what the heck is going on in this world? I think you need an update. So, update. The Women with Books podcast went on a winter hiatus. It's been a few months since I've released new episodes, but during my hiatus, I needed it. I needed to reassess, reevaluate, rest, and I just waited for my podcasting muse to whisper in my ear again. And then one day it did, and I was back on track. I started organizing, scheduling, thinking through season 5 of Women with Books. I recorded episodes, and yeah, now the whole world's frozen. We're fighting, we're figuring crap out, and then it just, once again, kind of threw this podcast into a little bit of a pause. But you know what? Here's what's going to happen. I'm producing episodes, yes, but I am taking it episode by episode. Things can change on a dime in the world, as we've learned, and I don't want to promise you a full season of this podcast because it's just me, and I don't know what's going to happen to any of us. During the episodes you do hear, you may hear children in the background, my husband talking to his office colleagues, refrigerators. I'm having to move around the house due to technological and people issues, because there are more people in my residence, living and working and watching TV and doing homework and doing Zoom calls. And so there may come a point as well that I don't feel like this is appropriate, either with my personal situation or what's going on in the world. I just might not feel that it's right to keep pushing books and talking about trivial matters. And at that point, when I don't feel like it's right, I'll just stop. But right now, today is March 29th, 2020, that I'm recording this, and I still feel like talking about books is more important than ever before. Readers, you're out there. You will read through this. You have always read. You've read since you were a child or since you found something that changed your life. Readers, this is how we survive hard things when people are in the hospital. I firmly believe that this is how we process our emotions. This is how we learn to relate to others and to the world, and how we learn about life, period. Or at least it is for me. And you know what? After doing 50 of these episodes and talking to so many authors who are also readers, and talking to you out there, I know that this is true, that this is a fundamental aspect of our lives. And even when we're at home, when we're uncertain, when we're scared, this is still something that we all share. In the middle, I guess what I'm trying to say is, in the middle of a world gone mad, books are there for us. They're still on our bookshelves, virtual or real. They're still on library apps. They're still in ebook stores. And yes, they can even still come in the mail. I have a very good friend who ordered a bunch of books, including some of mine, and they all just came in one big batch one day, and she was very excited. We can still talk about books on the internet or over the phone, Skype, and voila, on podcasts. But we're outside, we're planting, we're taking our dogs for long walks. And yes, I'm reading. I mean, if I want to stop in the middle of the day and go curl up with a book, that's what I'm giving myself grace to do. So, with all of that, I cannot wait to introduce the first episode of Season 5. I read an early copy of Victoria Shade's new release 6 months ago, and I'm telling you, it couldn't come out at a better time. It's called Who Rescued Who, which you'll hear us talk about, and it's a great book for a pandemic. Does that sound awful? But here's why. It's warm, it's sweet, it's funny, it's set in England. So that's just basically like all I need to escape. And it has very cute animals. And you'll basically hear all about that book and its awesome author right now. All right. You want to talk for real?
Let's talk for real.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to Women with Books. I have a very special guest today that she and I have already been chatting for like hours. Victoria Schade. I'm pronouncing that right?
You are. I always say it's like lampshade.
There you go.
Yeah.
Schade. I think if you had like umlauts and stuff, I think that would change the... Is it umlauts when you put the little dots over things?
Indeed it is, and it is a German name. It's pronounced Schade, which means what a pity. So who knows what my freaking forefathers did to get that kind of name.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is the best.
What a pity.
Oh my gosh, I love you so much. I met you in person last year at New York RWA. You came down just to have a glass of champagne with people, which I love.
Yeah.
I said came down. You came up from Pennsylvania. That's where you're from, right?
Yeah, but I'm really bad at geography, so notice I didn't correct you. So, yeah.
Down, up. I mean, I guess it depends on what side of the globe you're on.
Yes, I came into the city. How about that?
Came into the city. Yeah, and it actually turns out that you live in the same town that I used to live in high school, Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Is that still correct?
That's correct. I did not realize that. Which high school did you go to?
Central Bucks East.
Nice.
I know.
Big rivalry there.
Yes.
East and West.
I dated a guy from West, though. So we were like Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. There's a book right there.
Right? Oh my gosh. Set in rural Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
Hey, it's pretty. You know it.
No, I know. No. I tell everybody. I'm like, it was a dream. It was like living in a Norman Rockwell painting. Mm-hmm. And there in Doylestown, Pennsylvania is Victoria Schade writing books about all sorts of things. Well, actually, here's the thing I want to talk to you about. So you are a nationally recognized expert on dog training. Is that fair to say?
I would say that's fair to say. I don't know. I don't know recognized, but
recognized let's say in the industry. You are known as well because that was your. I mean, is it fair to say that was your first career, or like? Let's talk about this.
Well, first career, no. I did what mom and dad wanted me to do. You know, went to college, got the good corporate job, and always felt like it wasn't a fit. Even though,
I could see you being good at the corporate job, though.
Oh well, thanks. You know, I was in sales.
You're pleasant. Yeah, exactly. You're pleasant. You're professional. You could do it.
Thank you. I can rock a high heel now and then when I'm not working from my
you're
writing
the type
cave.
of person that comes to New York for a glass of champagne, darling.
God. I'm going to laugh this entire podcast interview.
Fine. That's fine.
But yes, you are correct, darling.
So you were in sales, and then how long till you were like, no, my true passion is dogs? Like, how did that happen? Is that what the next step was, or was there a medium step there?
No, it was very dramatic, and I had just married my husband, and he was like, what the hell are you doing? Because I had this pretty incredible job in tech. We were in Northern Virginia, which is the tech hub of the East Coast, during the dot-com boom, where it's basically like, hey, I want to sell potatoes online. Boom, you get $1 million. Do it. So, you know, there was money like crazy, and in sales, doing well, and I'm like, this isn't working for me. Stupid. And I literally had an epiphany sitting at my computer going, what do I want to do? And this voice said, be a dog trainer. And it made no sense. I swear to you, it made no sense. I'd never even set foot in a dog training class. But for some reason, yeah. I'd always been like the family dog trainer, but I'd done it myself just by intuition and books, basically. So, yeah, I decided to quit my job and apprentice and become a dog trainer. And, it's one of those things where when you tell people, they're like, okay, all right. And this was 20 years ago. This was before it was a thing, to the point where I would be at cocktail parties and people would say, what do you do? And I'd say, I'm a dog trainer. And they'd go, oh, what kind of doctor? Because it was such a foreign concept. I'm like, no, dog trainer. Now everyone and their sister is a dog trainer. But back then it was kind of a weird career choice. And I had no other choice but to make it work. Because I had left this pretty incredible job. So failure was not an option. And
so you said you kind of dropped it a little bit. You were an apprentice. So there was a dog training career path that you figured out, and you found a professional dog trainer?
There was one. I'm a huge researcher. I think every writer is at the core. And so I dove into figuring out, how do I make this dream a reality? Mm-hmm. I reached out to a pretty famous dog trainer just to get some advice. And she was British. It's not who you think. It's not the famous current British dog trainer. Mm. So we're talking on the phone, and she goes, there's no money in dog training. And I'm like, well, why are you doing it then? Why have you been doing it for 30 years of your life? There is money in dog training. So not to be dissuaded, I just kept talking to people and getting advice. And I found a trainer locally who had an apprenticing program and learned everything you're not supposed to do when training a dog. And yeah, from that point on, found my own way. Well, not found my own way of training. I found a type of training that worked for me. And the rest is history.
Oh, that's so interesting. I have to say, when I was first introduced to you, and I saw that you had been on the Today Show or something, or you had some TV credits, and I was a little intimidated. I mean, but obviously you got to a point where you, like I said, started becoming more recognized and people were inviting you on media. Did that feel like you had made the right decision then? Did people think that, that's totally legitimate, be a dog trainer?
I don't know what the turning point was. Maybe my first book. Maybe that was about 3 to 4 years. And my memory is so bad, it's embarrassing.
This is your nonfiction book, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and I can't remember. It's not COVID, I swear. I can't remember.
I can't get it from here. I don't care.
Well, you care if I die, right?
Oh, very much, very much.
Okay,
for the listeners, we are recording this during the COVID quarantine period. So,
yeah. That's why we're stir crazy.
Yes, we are a little bit punchy, and we will probably be talking about that as it goes on. So.
Oh yeah. I also did a puppy training DVD, and honestly, I can't remember which came first. I think the DVD came before the book. Those things started to legitimize this bizarro career path when it was kind of like, oh yeah, you have business plans that go beyond just going into people's homes and teaching their dog how to sit, even though there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah.
I would like that very much. So, So one of the things that came up recently, because this is March 2020, and last month I was noticing on your social you had a ton of amazing content that I was obsessed by behind the scenes at the Puppy Bowl.
Yay!
It's Puppy Bowl, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So for those people out there who maybe, I guess, are non-American, I would think most Americans know this, but this is alternative programming on Super Bowl day on Animal Network?
Animal
Planet,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And why don't you describe it? I don't know how to describe it. Puppies and animals playing with toys.
Football. So basically, it was pitched as counter-programming for Super Bowl Sunday. So the people who don't necessarily want to watch football all day but still want to have something fun and sportsmanlike to watch, why not watch a group of puppies playing football, air quotes, on this shrunken down field? And it's evolved. I've worked on the show for 14 years now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
It's
See,
the
nationally
highlight.
recognized dog trainer. You get to go to the Puppy Bowl.
Yeah, it's really a dream. It's hard work. It's a long week. The days are long. It's physical work. But it's the highlight of my year. I love it. So yeah, it's puppies playing on a field, but there's so much more that goes into it because it's evolved into this huge event. When I started, people truly didn't know what it was. So when I was trying to cast it, because for the first 2 years I worked on the show, I found all the puppies that were playing on the field.
Really?
Holy pressure. Holy pressure, let me tell you.
Oh my gosh. I've watched this for years, and now I feel like there's been this connection this whole time. Because I've always watched it, and they're like, these dogs are up for adoption. And then by the end of the show, the dogs are already adopted. But
well, okay,
like
spoiler. We film in October.
Oh.
It's not live. Everyone thinks that it's live, but when you really start scrutinizing it, it wouldn't be possible to have it live because poop happens. A lot of poop happens and a lot of pee happens, and we'd be constantly interrupting the flow of the game to go out and clean up the poop and the pee. So, no. It's when we film in October, all those puppies are up for adoption, but by the time the show airs, they're pretty much all in their forever homes.
How do people can people get on the list for next year's Puppy Bowl? Or how is that through their foster agencies and stuff?
It would be through the shelter. So if someone, really loves the shelter or foster group or rescue group that they worked with, they can definitely try and rally to get them on the show. But Animal Planet has this incredible network of shelters and rescue organizations they work with throughout the country. So, I mean, people are flying in from California to New York for Puppy Bowl. So they cast a wide net to find these adorable players.
Well, I will put a link in the show notes to your Instagram because you've got all that Puppy Bowl content on your Instagram account. And
Thank you.
I know people will be interested because it was really interesting because I'm going to keep talking about it because it was interesting to me because when you're watching it at home, you're hearing the announcers and da-da-da-da-da. But that's obviously all scripted later because you kind of have to let the animals do what they want. So at what point, though, did Puppy Bowl become Kitten and Sloth Bowl? Like, when did y'all start bringing the other animals in? Because there were some adorable pictures of you with a sloth this year.
Oh, that was a couple years ago.
Oh, it was a couple years ago? Okay.
Yeah. We had the sloth, I think, for 2 or 3 years. So the cheerleaders and the co-refs started coming in, at least 5-10 years ago. And we've just gone through, like, every year I'm like, they can't surprise me with these cheerleaders that they're going to have this year. Because what can beat penguins? We had penguins one year. Oh, you know what can beat penguins? Baby kangaroos. Come on. So it's like the big thing, like, who are our cheerleaders this year?
And is it your responsibility to wrangle the kangaroos too, or do they have a kangaroo specialist on
They
staff?
have specialists.
Okay.
I wish. I did get to hold it. So at one moment, we've worked with the exotic animal wranglers for a few years now, the same outfit. And they were wrangling some kangaroos, and they're like, here, can you hold this? And I'm like, hold a baby kangaroo? Yes. But it was in a bag. Like, that's how they transport them, like the mama's bag.
Of course.
Her little belly. So I looked like I had my tote bag with, my lunch and my work shoes, but in reality there was a little baby kangaroo hanging out in there, and it was a moment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I am overcome with joy at that image of a baby kangaroo in a tote bag.
Well, there's a story, and on my Instagram stories, there's one that's all about Puppy Bowl, and there's a brief video of the little kangaroo popping her head out of a bag, and it's worth looking at. So
cute. I love that. Do you do any other, like, media shows or anything behind the scenes that we don't know about?
I do.
Do we know about them? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if you know about them. The most recent was a commercial last year for a dog food brand, and this is kind of funny. They're like, okay, you're going to cast the puppies and wrangle the puppies and get all the action that we need. And keep in mind, when they say get the action, these are untrained puppies. But I have tricks. After doing it for all these years, I have tricks on how to get the shot. And then they're like, hey, can you also be the on-screen talent? I'm like, oh, okay. So, I've done on-screen before. I was on 2 seasons of a show called Faithful Friends where I was like the dog trainer person. Like I had a little interstitial with me training dogs on camera. So it wasn't like, oh, I've never done this before. But the way, the angles they were shooting me, like you reach a certain age or you take selfies and you know you have angles that work.
Yes.
Well, these were not angles that work. It was like they're on the ground shooting up, and I have a round head anyway, so I'm like, all you're going to see is double chin, if not triple chin. So I was dreading seeing this thing, and it's not a commercial on TV, it's like a web commercial. And they said, oh, no, I think I found it. I was watching something. I'm like, oh, my God, that's my face. No. So it was just as bad as I thought it would be. Tons of triple chin. And my hope is that not many people have seen it. But the other day in the grocery store, someone that I know from town was like, oh, my son saw you in that commercial. I'm like, oh, great. It's still out there. Yeah. So, but yes, I do stuff like that. What else has been recent? I do on-camera stuff for like Pet MD, Chewy. I'll do stuff for them occasionally. So yeah, there's always stuff popping. I'm working on something right now. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Nationally recognized, right there.
Oh, jeez. No.
My neighbor is a guide dog trainer or service animal trainer, and she has 2 permanent dogs that live with her. They are both puppies that she trained and then for different reasons flunked out of the final exam. So she brought them back home, and they're actually, because they're very, in most respects, very well trained. So they're actually great to have around the littler puppies that come through. But one of them has an agent, and because he is he's such a good dog. He's this perfectly behaved in 98% of the time. He just wasn't good enough to make the cut for guide dog. But he does have an agent, so sometimes she's like, he's in the Pier 1 commercial this week, or he's in this such and such commercial. And so if you ever need a really beautiful golden retriever, I know of one for you.
Excellent. Good to know. I'm going to file that away.
I know. I'm like, I'm making the connections. I'm making Nikki some dollars. Okay.
Nikki, I like it.
Yeah. So let me just ask you this, since I'm talking about my neighbor, she's given me some dog training tips before, but you had something on, I think, your Instagram stories recently about how to train a dog not to bark. And that seems to me to be like the hardest thing for us, because I think my dog was barking earlier. I'm not sure if that made it on this recording or not. Because we want our dogs to bark to give us notice sometimes if something's wrong, or if there's like a mean guy with a ski mask at the front door. But not every single Amazon delivery guy needs to be like torn apart by my dog. So what is there something like quick you can tell me, or is this like a multi-year process that I'm going to have to like put you on a consultation fee for?
It's not a multi-year process, but you have to think about how long your dog has been doing it successfully, and that will give you some idea as to how long it will take to undo it, because it's a deeply rewarding behavior. It feels good to bark, right? So you have to, and not only that, it's deeply instinctual, and there's 9 times out of 10 in the dog brain, there's a good reason why they're doing it. There is someone breaching the perimeter. Oh my God, sound the alarm. So all of those things influence how quickly and easily it'll be to change that reaction. But, in a nutshell, basically food, always food. And you're helping your dog understand that, yes, you can alert to that thing, but the faster you stop barking, the quicker you're going to get rewarded for it. So that's like high-level overview. Basically, you want them to realize that coming to you quietly is what will get them the reward. So with my dogs, it's really hard because they get each other riled up. Like one is the barker and one is the follower. But it's funny because the barker will keep barking a little bit and the follower's like, oh, I'm being really good. I'm coming to you. Look how quiet I am. She's stupid. I'm smart. And it's adorable. And then when the barker realizes, she's like, oh, my sister's getting food. Let me be quiet and come over and get some food too. So in a multi-dog household, they can kind of play off each other. But we can explore this offline. I'll have more tips for you.
No. No, I can't remember whether you told me this or whether it was on your social or books or something. You had a store. Did you have a pet supply store?
I did.
Now, was it just for dogs, or do you like allow other animals to come in and partake?
I welcome all animals. We had a pig in there once. We had a bunny in there. Cats. Yeah, all were welcome. It was primarily for dogs. I had a tiny little cat section. And it was at a point in my career when I had started to burn out because really, dog training full time, it's challenging. You do burn out. You do get compassion fatigue. And especially the way that I did it, I was going into my clients' homes and working with them, with their dogs in the family environment. And it was a lot. So at that point, I knew I wanted to stay in the dog world, but I needed to take a step back from training. And I opened the store, and it was magical and awesome and really heartbreaking because eventually, after 6 years, I had to close it. But I learned a lot, and I met some of my favorite people in the world through the store. And also, it helped fuel a future story. You will soon, hopefully, fingers crossed, see the next book that has to do with a dog store.
Yay! Well, that's what I was thinking about. I was like, she had this pet store, and I know that when you're sitting in there watching customers come in with their animals and stuff, I can't help but think you start coming up with character ideas, story, like you start hearing crazy things that people are like, guess what my dog did? And I mean, you've probably heard that through training too. But here's a question I had for you. Do you think that dogs and their owners really do resemble each other or start to resemble each other?
You know what? It's not cool to say this, but I don't.
Oh.
I don't.
Well, I'm glad to hear it because my dog has like a big mustache and black hairy eyebrows. So I'm like, yes, thank you.
Not at all. No, and my dog has resting bitch face, like permanently. So yes. I don't want that either. No, I don't see it. I mean, I think it can happen, but I don't think that there's any tendency to pick up each other's physical features over time. No. Or maybe we self-select for dogs that like subconsciously resemble us, like the people who take the Afghan hounds might be tall and thin and elegant, but no, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, talking about characters and stories and dogs, let's get into the new release that's coming out, Who Rescued Who, which I was very, very lucky to get an early copy of last fall. Why don't you tell us about it?
Oh, well, Who Rescued Who is a fish out of water story about a woman who's obsessed with living her life online and obsessed with her job. And very suddenly and dramatically, she loses her job. And at about the same time, she realizes that she has family she didn't know about in England. And she also discovers she has an inheritance there she didn't know about. So she thinks that she'll just quickly jet over to the UK and get this inheritance thing taken care of and maybe meet these relatives, her aunt and uncle, and then jet back and resume her life in the high-tech fast lane. Well, Fargrove, England has other plans for her, and while she's there, she literally stumbles upon this needy little puppy, and she realizes that her aunt and uncle have needs of their own. And next thing you know, the quick trip is anything but. And then we add in a little sparkle of some handsome British stranger, and there you have Who Rescued Who.
I loved it so much, Victoria. I'm 100% being honest with you, with the audience. I actually, just hearing you say that again, I'm thinking I might reread it because it's the perfect book for these times. If y'all are listening to this and you're still at home, you're scared, you're anxious, you're trying really, really, really hard not to look at your bank accounts or your investments or whatever, this book will take you away. I mean, so y'all sent me an early copy and were like, what did you think? Give us a quote. And I think I gave you like 3 paragraphs.
You gave me a great quote. I loved it.
But I was really like, this is like this. I'm a big fan of English countryside stories. You've got that aspect. You do have the romance. You've got this family aspect that is not cliched and not I don't know, not corny, but incredibly touching. And there's just like this fantasy aspect that you could go to England and find a new way of living, and it's exactly what we all need to be thinking about these days.
That's so kind of you. I did a post recently where I said, transport yourself to Fargrove, England, where the only illness they're facing is lovesickness.
Oh,
right? No COVID in Fargrove.
No, and there's this beautiful, she finds new friends. There's a pub. There's this great coffee shop that I want to go to. Like, I'm seriously thinking about it. And I'm like, I can see everything in my head, and that is the mental vacation I want to go to. I want to go to the art gallery. Oh, and the sheep. There's sheep.
Yeah, Blossom and Rosie.
Yes.
They were special.
How could I forget about the sheep? They become like this great little character. So where did you get this idea?
It's kind of funny how this world sprang from this single idea, and the single idea was influencers. Because that's the kernel of the core of the story is people who live their lives online in this very glamorous and enviable way. Maybe when you peel back some of the layers, maybe that's not really the truth. So I did a lot of research about influencers. I watched a great movie that I love, Ingrid Goes West. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh my God, it's so good. I love it, love it, love it.
Where can I get this movie?
I think it's Netflix or Amazon Prime. Yeah. It's so good because it's a really hard look at influencers and the lives they lead and the lengths they go to get the shot, which is kind of a motif in the book as well.
Definitely. It gets her out of her house because she wants to go like Instagram stuff.
Yeah. But it also gets her in trouble because she realizes that not everyone else wants to get the shot. Like the puppy she finds, for example, Georgina, there's a scene where she's trying to get like the perfect selfie with this new puppy next to her. And what happens? Georgina's like, hell no. So, and they have a funny moment together. So, this whole idea of not making personal connections anymore. We're so focused on our phones looking down. We're not connecting to each other. So that's really what set me down the path. And then I thought about taking this person who's so dependent on her phone. She doesn't have real relationships other than work. And I said, well, what would happen if we plopped her in a place where she doesn't have that option? And she's forced to make connections, whether she wants to or not. A lot of these people in Fargrove, they want to have a relationship with her. And she's kind of like, whoa, pump the brakes. But they're not hearing it. She's family. She's a new friend. She's the pet parent to this puppy, whether she wants to be or not. So yeah, it's just it's a story about getting out of your comfort zone, like maybe against your will, and learning to connect to people and nature and the beauty that's all around us.
Okay, and I'm going to take that quote and say that is exactly what we're living through right now, though.
Yeah, there are some parallels.
There's so many because the last few days I've just said, I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not looking at the news. I keep my phone next to me just because it's my phone. Like, I'm like, okay, if someone, like I've got friends texting, I've got, but I'm like, I'm only using it for that. If someone needs to call me, if someone needs to text me, because it's not real. Whatever is out there, I can't do anything about. Right. It's causing me anxiety, and
oh yeah.
And I'm sitting here playing a board game with my kids, and there's literally nothing else we have to do but right now and trade, wheat for sheep and Settlers of Catan, and like
so good.
That is my life right now, and that is okay, and that's what your book's about too. It's like literally figuring out. I've got a sheep and a dog here, and I've got a life, and I need to focus on. And
look up, man. Look up from your phone, because if you keep, especially now, if you keep looking down, it's gloom and doom, and you're gonna start to. You can't help but have it get to you.
Oh no!
Versus, connecting with your family, your pet, the environment, nature. It's going to help you get through this.
Right. I mean, I opened up my phone last night. I said, okay, I'll check the news every night and just see, because I do. I have like a special Twitter list where I just put like news organizations. So I could like quickly see headlines. A lot of them are my local news. So, but I open it up and like the Dallas Morning News is like, here's what you need to know. How many deaths occurred today? I was like, oh my God. Like,
yeah,
that's
and you
what
regret
I'm met
it.
with.
Right?
Which is important news. I want to know. I want to know how my community is being affected, but at the same time, it's a lot. It's a lot to handle when that's all we can hear about.
And when you feel powerless.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do. So we just need to buy books.
Stay home.
Stay home, buy books, drink tea.
And leave reviews.
Leave reviews.
Positive ones, please.
Only positive. There's so much negativity in the world.
Oh, God.
Don't come out here and say, I'm telling it like it is. Don't come online and say, like, this author didn't know what she was talking about. Because you know what? None of us do. None of us do. We're just out here trying to make you smile.
Right.
That's all.
Yes. You get it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean about doing an interview with you is you're right there in the trenches. You get it.
I will say I should be saying this. I don't read my reviews. I really do not.
Oh, me neither. Oh, let's talk about it. Let's go there.
But one came through my filter. I really don't know how. And it was like, this is a completely, what was it? Unrealistic story. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you very much. Like, that was my favorite thing ever. I might use it on marketing. Because I'm like, I don't want to write realism. I am not the author for people if they want realism. I'm sure there's tons of people out there who will write the world in all of its depressing glory.
So that was something you and I talked about when we talked about The Royal Runaway, was I was so impressed with your world building. I totally bought into everything. And to me, I'm like, this is so realistic. Is this place real? Because,
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I do not agree with that nasty reviewer.
That's another thing I think, though, as an author, you start to realize is that everyone's got their cup of tea. Everyone's got their, and I might not be your flavor of tea. That's fine. But again, go move on. Go say, and if you're writing a review, be like, these are the things I like and these are the things I didn't like. That is fine, because then it helps other people say, oh, I really like, whether it's low heat, high tension, high stakes, low comedy, whatever it is, like, give me that. That's fine. But
yeah, I stopped reading my reviews, but I had one, like, back when I was stupid and still reading them. Someone had said from my first book, Life on the Leash, they're like, oh, it's as if this person took, someone said they had to take all these tropes and throw them in there, like the fashion show / makeover. I'm like, no. I put that in there because I freaking love it. Oh. Give me a shopping montage where we're seeing someone in different dresses. I am so there for it. So it wasn't a matter of like, oh, what's going to sell? It was me indulging my own love of a good, like, we're at the mall trying on different outfits.
Yeah.
So,
no, I love that too. But that's what, well, this is more as a author, but also as a reader, like, identifying those things that you really like. Okay, I like, a shopping montage. Guess what? There will be a shopping montage in every single one of my books, y'all. And you're going to attract those readers who are like, I also like a shopping montage. But, some people don't want to read about it, and that's fine. That's cool.
Right. Just don't be mean about it. No. Don't be mean.
Only good reviews. And again, this is my soapbox today, apparently. Again, we live in a world where it is like negativity all the time, and everyone's got an opinion about how someone else has screwed up. And maybe we just need to focus on keeping those to ourselves.
Seriously. Yeah. I mean, I'm down for constructive criticism, but the meanness, no thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a writing coach who said we should actually look at reviews to see like what people like about us and what we don't, so we can lean into, our strengths. And I'm like, I like that, but I'm just not reading them. So
No, I get a physical reaction. Like, I will feel my hands start to shake and my breath start to become shallow when I think that a review is going to come across my screen. Like, my Goodreads account, which I'm not as good about it as I should be, but I will literally put a piece of paper up so I can't see the star rating on any of my books. Like, if I have to update my blog or something, that's how bad it is for me.
Goodreads is sneaky that way, exactly, because I'll be like, because I want to go on and be like, I read this book, I did this. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what I just clicked, but there's my books, and I'm like, I don't want to see my books.
No! Get it away!
I only want to say nice things about my friend Victoria's books.
Oh, God.
So what was the hardest part of writing Who Rescued Who for you?
You know what? This is something that trips me up in every book. The content, the characters, I love all that. It's a pleasure for me. I don't get the whole like, writing is torture. No, for me, writing is the best thing ever. But what I really have a hard time with is timeline. Holy crap. My copy editor was like, how long has it been? Has this been weeks or days? What? This isn't clear. And it was just torture for me to have to go back and be like, just poetic license. It's been time, just general time. Doesn't that work? So yeah, that was the hardest thing. And for both books, truly, the timeline.
I'm laughing because I always act like all of this can be done in a day. Like, and then they go do this, and then they go do this. And because I want to keep the pace up, I want this to be a fast read. And then I'm like, wait, no one has slept, no one has eaten, no one has...
You're bending the time-space continuum in the effort to tell a story.
Oh my gosh, and God bless him. My copy editor for my last book, The Royal Bodyguard, I thought I had made up a Formula One Grand Prix. I had made it up because I'm like, I'm realistic like that, and I know I can't like do research on a real thing, so I make up one. But apparently there was another, so I called it the Slovenian Grand Prix. And apparently there is a real Slovenian Grand Prix, but for like BMX bikes. So my copy editor thought that was what I was referring to. Oh, God. And so the whole book, and it's not their fault, like that's what they're supposed to do. So they found this Slovenian Grand Prix, and like the whole book, they're like, the Slovenian Grand Prix takes place in, I don't know, June. You say this is 6 months. This says it's 4 months. And I'm like... And so, like, we had this entire timeline issue, and it wasn't anybody's fault, but I just had to keep saying, basically, no, Stet, I made this up, Stet, I made this up, Stet, I made this up, because I didn't really know there was a real one. So.
But if they're thinking BMX, which is like a pedal bike, and you're thinking race cars, that's another big difference.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really reference it that much. It was just kind of like in the background, like, oh, it's been 6 months since blah, blah, blah happened. And they're like, no, actually, it's been 4. I'm like, no, it hasn't, because it's fake.
It's fake, damn it.
Again, I make things up for a living.
Right. It's unrealistic. Come on.
Unrealistic. So, actually, we skipped right into talking about Who Rescued Who, but I am curious, how did you make the jump from fiction or nonfiction, being nationally recognized dog training expert, to going to a fiction writing career?
So I loved the fiction
Did
elements.
you hear a voice inside your head? That's what I want to know.
Oh, did I hear a voice?
Yeah.
No,
okay.
I didn't hear. I heard voices, plural.
Oh,
Ooh.
even better.
No, when I wrote my first book, Bonding with Your Dog, I did little vignettes, like little stories that illustrate the teachable concepts, because that's the way I like to learn, is not just like the cold hard facts. Give me surrounding story to help me put it into a context. So as I would work on those, I'm like, oh, this part's super fun. Like, I like talking about this guy and his dog's afraid of cars. Awesome. And then I'd have to get to the actual how-to part. And I'm like, oh, shit, I don't like this as much. Like, this is hard. If you've ever tried to write instructions like how to do anything, you really have to think about the words you're putting on the page, because people interpret things differently. So that aspect, I'm like, okay, fiction, fun, nonfiction, not fun. So I started to realize not only I enjoyed it more, hopefully I did it well, and then I realized that my career of going into people's homes was just filled with stories. The characters that I met, holy moly, I would tell my mom these stories and she'd be like, write it down. That's a book. Write it down. And that's how the first book came to be. It just was it was impossible to ignore how ripe it was for storytelling.
Yeah. Because it's so human, right? I mean, and that sounds weird. Dog training is so human, but it is because
it is.
Yeah. They're reacting to us. And it's all about like, how do we find our way of communicating with this animal? And
also it's people always say, I want to be a dog trainer because I love dogs. Okay, good luck with that, because the people sign the checks. You have to be as good, if not better, with people than you are with dogs, because you have to convey. You're a translator between canine language, human language, and trainer language. Wow. So, yeah, and hence the getting exhausted and burnout thing that I talked about before.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I had never thought about that before. But you're absolutely right. The translation from canine to human, and saying it in a way that particular person can understand, because each of us are coming to you with different expectations, different strengths, different weaknesses,
different learning styles.
Yeah. And especially if you have someone who's high energy, low energy, very emotional, non-emotional.
Oh, yeah. I always said it was like stepping onto a stage. Every time I walked into a client's home, I had to entertain the four-legged participant and the two-legged participant. So it was very like reading the room. Like you said, like, do I have to do a song and dance, or do I have to just stay super like mellow? We're doing yoga together. So being a good dog trainer is all about connecting to the humans, because it's an assumption. You have to be good with the animal, but yeah, making the people like you is really important.
Well, and that's also fiction.
That's true.
Making people like the people in my books.
Yes, you're right. Another parallel.
Well, was there a book that you read at one point and you're like, okay, I can do this. I can write, or did you just always know that you had these stories in you?
Well, I've always been a storyteller and a writer. I did lots of creative writing in college and tons of journaling, which I think helps. So it wasn't like this, holy crap, where's this coming from? It's always been within me, but making it formal was different. I don't know if there was a book that brought it out. It was a pull that I couldn't resist. So maybe it was a voice. Maybe it was something saying, you need to do this. But it just got to the point where I knew I had to.
When you were younger or a child, was there a book that kind of you were obsessed by, or that changed your life in some way?
Oh, God, yeah. So many. I was the weird kid that would, bring books on the bus and wouldn't talk to anyone and read. So obviously the Little House series.
Yes.
100%. Little Princess, loved that. Anne of Green Gables. I was a little older for that one, but, there's something about the Little House series. It was so evocative to me, to the point where I will reference Almanzo's milk-fed pumpkin, and people are like, what the hell are you talking about? But that fascinated me. I wanted to grow a milk-fed pumpkin.
I don't.
Do you know
even
what I'm talking about?
I know. I always tell people I reference Little House a lot but it might have been more the show, because we were also. I'm not quite sure how old you are, but I was a generation that actually did watch Little House on the Prairie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So
I watched it too.
So sometimes I'm like, did I get that from the book or the show? So I'm not really sure, but
yeah, it's the milk-fed pumpkin and then the ribbon hard candy that they would get on special occasions. That just
I do remember that. An orange. Well, there was always like these weird mentions of oranges for Christmas.
Yes. Yep. I think that's a literary thing, though. I think there are a lot of books that go there.
Yeah.
Because oranges are exotic in that time period.
Right. And I'll always tell my kids, like, when they complain about stuff, I'll be like, children in the pioneer age didn't have this and this, because I'm in my head, I'm just thinking of like Laura Ingalls Wilder, and they look at me weird. I've tried actually showing them the shows, and they aren't as fascinated with that. So I'm not really sure what that.
How old are they?
Oh, they're in their early teens now, and I tried when they were younger, and I think maybe just like the pace was a little bit slower of those
That's
shows.
what I was gonna say. Yeah.
And then what it is now. But anyway, yes, Anne of Green Gables too. I loved. So when people ask you for recommendations, is there a author or books that you always recommend?
Well, it depends on if we're talking dogs or humans.
Yeah, well,
but
for dogs, what do dogs like to read?
Bum. See, we're still punchy. So what do dogs read? I don't know what the dogs read, but I know what their people should be reading.
Okay,
and one of my favorites is called The Culture Clash. It's a little bit older. It's not for everyone. Some people don't like the author's tone. It's by Jean Donaldson. She was a director of the San Francisco SPCA. I studied under her. She's incredible. It's just a really unique way of looking at the relationship between people and their dogs. And I read it at the very beginning of my training career. Literally would laugh out loud at some of the stuff she was saying. And it's one of those like, oh my God, you're right. So love that book. I love The Other End of the Leash by Patricia McConnell. Also great, will make you cry. That's a really, really good one. And then if we're talking people...
Yeah.
Speaking of hating, I read this book and I was jealous. I was so jealous because I didn't write it. The Hating Game is so good.
Yes.
God, she just, I really, really loved it. So, yeah, that's always a recommendation. Bringing Down the Duke is a recent one that I love.
Wasn't that good?
Dunmore. So good. It's like she's redefining the genre in a sense. Like
it was weird because I felt like it was so fresh and new, but it was hitting like all the buttons for me that, and so I was like, why am I feeling like this is? And maybe because the time period was slightly new, the suffragette angle. I wasn't really sure. I was like, I am really enjoying this. It feels, it felt good to read. Is that weird?
Yeah. No, not at all. It's always great when someone breathes new life into a genre that you're familiar with and already love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Evie Dunmore, I can't wait to get that next book. Hint, hint, people.
Yeah, dude.
Handing out her books. We'll tag them and see what we get.
I'm friends with Evie. We're
there
buds.
You go. Yeah, get me on that list.
So we had dinner together. Come on. It's wait, don't tell me the name. It is something that Rogue of One's Own. Bam. Come on.
We'll tag them on this stuff. Be like, hint, hint.
Yeah, every time I see someone going, look what I got, I'm like, come on, people. Girl's got to read here.
I hint so much. Terry Wilson actually is the one who taught me this, and if she's listening, she'll recommend. But she's like, I just go into their mentions and I tell them I want that book. I'm like, okay.
I like the direct approach.
I think she tries indirect first, and then if that doesn't work. Sorry, Terry. Sorry, Terry, for calling you out. By any means
necessary. I love Terry. She's the best.
She is the best. She doesn't even know. I was going to say, she doesn't even know how good she is, but I think maybe she does, too.
Hopefully she has an inkling.
I think so. So is there a book or genre that people would be surprised that you like?
Yeah, I think there's a couple books. I did a story recently. I was finally cleaning off these bookshelves, and I pulled some favorites down, and I'm like, oh, these might shock some people. Because I love Geek Love by Catherine Dunn.
Oh, do I know this one? I don't know.
It's older.
Okay.
It's about circus geeks, and it's like genre bending, insanity. Like people either violently hate it or just are enthralled by it.
Okay.
So yeah, it's different for someone who reads and writes women's fiction / rom-com, but it's magnificent. And as is Perfume by Patrick Suskind. Again, just
now, is
violent.
That fiction or
it's fiction?
Okay.
Yeah, it's about a man who has this incredibly heightened sense of smell, and it almost drives him mad trying to track down the source of the most beautiful smell that he's ever smelled. And it sounds so bizarre, but it is beautiful, and it's just, again, evocative.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I am surprised by these.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm going to look them up, though. Yeah.
Oh, and one more.
Okay.
Nonfiction. Mary Roach. Everything she writes is hysterical. But the book Stiff, which is about what happens to cadavers.
Oh my gosh, Victoria, you don't even understand. I have recommended this book for so many years.
Yay!
No, like since it came out, I heard it.
Right?
I heard her interviewed on Terry Gross or something, and I bought it in hardback. And I was enthralled, and I told so many people about it. And if you want something that gets you a weird look at dinner parties, this is the book. I was reading this book about dead people.
Right? Where she's like, oh my God, we're cutting into severed heads in the first chapter. I'm like, this is the book for me. I love it.
I've read a couple of, maybe one or two of her follow-ups, which were good, but nothing that... I think this was her strongest.
I liked Bonk, the one about sex.
I'm not sure if I read that one. I feel like I did, but I'm not sure which ones were which.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. She's pretty special too.
Yeah, but Stiff is... I'm telling people like, no, you'll love it. And I think I gave it as a gift to some people, which was a bad move.
Yeah.
Because,
your mother-in-law.
Yeah, and they're looking at me going... What is this supposed to mean? Why are you giving me this book? And it just goes to show, y'all, I have been one of these people that just recommends books for my entire life, and then I'm like, oh shoot, not everyone likes what I like. So
and it says something about you too. Like that's why anytime you make a book recommendations, you're saying like, this is a part of me that you might not know, and do you still like me?
And I get my answer.
Yeah. They ignore your phone calls.
Yeah, they're like, stop it. Oh, Victoria, I don't want this to end, but
this has been so fun.
No, I do think it's time for the lightning round. Are you ready?
Yay! Let's go, baby.
Okay. Dark or milk chocolate?
Dark.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
When your phone rings, do you answer it?
I'm such a geek. Yes, that's what it's for, dummy.
I know. Unless it's a number I don't recognize. Do you do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I get a lot of robocalls. Do not answer those.
Yeah, no. Okay, good. Like, especially from Arizona. Like, nothing.
Really?
I think I might have accidentally put my number on some political things at one point, and now...
They're hot for you.
Yeah, they really want to talk to me this year for some reason. Okay. How do you normally waste time on the internet?
Oh, everything. Reddit is a huge time suck. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Yeah, in that order.
Are you finding, this is a bad lightning round, I shouldn't be stopping you, but am I the only one, or is, because I'm in quarantine, self-isolation, I feel like I'm running out of internet?
Oh, my husband and I say that all the time. Like when we're sitting on the couch and it's 11 o'clock at night, we're like, I've reached the end of the internet. I can't do anything else.
Yeah. Maybe instead of us providing like other tips, we should be like, here's a website you haven't seen before.
Yeah. Yes. People, do you know Jezebel? Jezebel is a great feminist website that's funny and sexy and awesome, and I always recommend Jezebel.
I do read that sometimes, but it's not on my day-to-day, so I need to put that on the day-to-day.
Yeah.
Anyway. On your next vacation, if we get out of the house, will it be to the mountains or the beach?
Mountains.
Okay. Do you call it soda or pop?
I grew up in Michigan, so for the first 12 years I called it pop, and now it's soda.
I was trying to remember. I was like, I think soda in Pennsylvania for sure, but I did not know that about Michigan. On a romance hero, do you prefer abs, forearms, or that chiseled jaw?
Chiseled jaw, because you're looking at the face all the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, abs are hidden. Also, as a moon-faced woman, I appreciate a good jawline.
It's aspirational for sure. Are you more likely to buy a book with a cover that has abs on it or a beach scene?
Beach.
And very important and last question, what are your feelings about turning to the last page of a book first?
Oh, passionate feelings. I don't do it. No. Especially because I've been reading graphic novels lately, and the Saga graphic novels, which I highly recommend. They're amazing. Because I started flipping. I'm like, oh my God, that character dies. So the worst thing ever in a graphic novel is to move ahead. But I think in all books, you should just enjoy it at the pace you're enjoying it.
Right. And actually, that's interesting because if you turn a page, your eye will immediately process whatever it is you've seen. Like if you do it as the book, you could still get to an epilogue and be like, I'm not quite sure what they mean by that. But
right.
Oh, yeah, if you flip to the end and you see a coffin, you'll pretty much know. Oh, Victoria, thank you so much for coming on. And again, I loved Who Rescued Who. And I can't wait for everyone to snuggle down with it in this turbulent time.
Well, thank you so much. This was a blast. I will say it again. You're an awesome interviewer.
Thank you. I'll just have you come on every month to say that.
Happily.
Thank you for joining me today. If you love this conversation, please leave a review or consider supporting the podcast at the link in the show notes. For a list of books discussed in this episode and other fabulous content, sign up for my newsletter at womenwithbooks.com. And remember, keep reading.